Well, good evening. If there's any doubt as to what the weather is like today, don't worry about it. Rest assured it's windy here. But not only is it windy here, I think it's actually like the second or third windiest day of the year so far. It's crazy windy. And what are we doing this afternoon? Well, we're gonna go shovel shit. So this isn't just any manure we're gonna shovel. We're actually gonna go over to where the bulls bedding area was last winter. We're gonna rake up some straw and cattle manure and throw that directly in the garden. We've been using the pigs in the garden, and one of the issues we have with clay and with soil compaction and having them stir in organic material, that compaction isn't going away. So what I want to do is take the area that we forked up to pull the potatoes out the other day and add some straw and manure into that and have the pigs work that in. So the straw will maintain the aeration even if the pigs walk on it and compact it.
Chase her out. Good girl. Uh-oh.
So this is the bedding area here. You can see lots of rich manure mixed in with some dry straw. This is going to work perfect for blending with that clay, not only maintaining soil structure, but also increasing the aeration of the soil and increasing the fertility of the soil. All right, so got the dump trailer filled up here with straw. You can see as we got a few layers deep, this stuff got pretty rich and moist. And you might be concerned, you think, well, how is this going to run really hot in the garden? And the answer is yes. How we're going to mitigate this concern is by throwing it in with the pigs and letting the pigs work and process and break this down even further into a more neutral state. They're also going to blend it in with the soil. So they're doing most of the work for us. I got to put the work into shoveling in this trailer and then shovel it out into the garden, but the pigs are going to do the rest. So cow manure actually runs pretty hot. It's pretty nitrogen rich. If you were to throw it directly on your plants, it might actually burn your plants. So that's where we're going to use the pigs to break that down. The other issue with cow manure, well, cows naturally are not good fertilizers, right? They poop, everything falls, one big splat on the ground. You can see there's a couple of them around here. One splat, one localized deposit. And that's why a lot of permaculturists will actually run sheep and then chickens in behind them, and they'll spread all that manure around, because the cow manure is very localized. It doesn't do a lot, a benefit for the surrounding area. So here's where that magic happens. The pigs don't have tiny little pitchforks, right? They've just got their hooves, their snouts, and most importantly, their teeth. So this is what they're doing. When I say processing, I don't mean they're getting out their garden tillers. I mean they're flipping and rooting and chewing through all this old manure and bedding. And it might seem a little bit gross, but believe it or not, cattle manure is still very, very high in nutrients. I think it's like upwards of 90% of cattle manure is still viable. It's still viable as organic material. The cow doesn't digest food in a normal way. What a cow does is it uses bacteria in its gut to break it down, and then it passes on to its next stomach, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of waste actually in cow manure, and a lot of nutrients still residing. So you can see this pig actually right now is chewing through an old cow patty there, and there's just tons and tons of grass left in it. It's really all it is grass and seeds. Okay, so I'm just in the chicken house here. It's 6:30 at night. All the chickens are starting to come in. You can see a few of them are roosted up here. Got some more over here. I'm gonna put the covers on the poop-free nesting boxes here. And what that's gonna do, stop the hens from roosting in there. I'm also gonna free the broody hen from the dog crate, bring her back in here, and it's gonna, because the covers are on, she's not gonna be able to go in there and immediately brood. She might go to plan B, we're hoping not. I'm hoping that broody habit's broken and she's just gonna come up here and roost with the other chickens. But we'll see if this works. So me and Matilda here, we're gonna go back to the chicken house, get her set up in the roosts, and hopefully she settles in for the night. Isn't that right, Matilda? So it's actually continued to get windier. Look at the whirlybird just giving her up there. So it's officially now the second windiest day of the year. This chicken's having none of it, so we better get inside. So just on my second load here, heading off to the garden. This idea I won't claim any credit for. This idea came from a guy named Joel Salatin. He's down in the States. If you're involved at all in permaculture, you know already who I'm talking about. If you're new and you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Joel Salatin. Very, very smart individual. He owns Polyface Farms down in the States. Anyways, the concept here, what he calls this is a carbonaceous diaper. So this all behind me, this is all the straw that's soaking up, the straw is the carbon that's soaking up all the nitrogen from the manure and creating balance. Now what Salatin does is he beds his cows down in the barn and then sprinkles corn actually in with the bedding. And then in the springtime when they turn the cows loose in the pasture, he can put the pigs back in the barn and they root and chew through all that manure and that straw as they're digging and searching for the corn. And we're not set up like that. We don't have a barn actually. This is just our cattle shelter, kind of a wind guard. You can see, right? Just kind of keeps the cold wind off of them out of the east and out of the southwest. And we bed them down in here. So it would be a full-on rodeo trying to get the pigs in here, and even to try and keep the pigs contained in here. So it's just as easy for me to fork up, you know, what is this, 20, 30 forkfuls of manure and straw and take it over to the pigs. They're not going to really have to root for it to look for corn because we don't feed corn up here. But later this evening when I feed the pigs, they get peas, oats, and barley is what they get. I'll sprinkle that on this manure and that'll give them a little bit of it. They've already got enough incentive because they like the taste of this straw. But it'll give them a little bit more incentive to work through that manure and that straw. Anyways, the end result here is going to be a rich, nutrient-dense fertilizer that the pigs lay down right directly in the garden. I think what Salatin does is he takes that, it's pretty much compost, and he takes that over to his chickens, and his chickens break it down even further. We're just going to throw this right in the garden simply because we're being aggressive with the garden, knowing that it's in such poor condition. We know we can get a little bit aggressive with it and throw some very hot product at it and let the pigs work that directly in. And then hopefully as this breaks down, we're going to get the humic acid that comes out of this. It's going to continue to break down that clay and make the soil more workable while adding fertilizer. So you might be wondering why we're just shoveling cow shit and straw in here and not just bringing in a load of black dirt or even peat moss. And that's a valid question. Well, the answer is simple. I have to feed the soil in order to build the soil. So if I just add black dirt or I just add peat moss, that's going to have great nutrient holding and even moisture holding capabilities, but it's going to be limited on its nutrient content. And so even if I add that stuff, I'm still going to have to feed that soil. Anyways, we're going to let these little pigs work through this delicious pile of carbon and nitrogen, process it down to a point where it's viable as a fertilizer and soil builder for the garden. We'll check back in a couple of days to see how much work they've done, but you can already see right beside it how much work they've done. The one pile I put in there first, and the second pile is half knocked down, so I'm pretty confident by morning most of this stuff is going to be spread out. I'm really going to have to do minimal encouragement to get them to work on this stuff. Anyways, I'm back in the shop now. Just finished mixing up feed for tomorrow morning, and when I was coming in with the side-by-side, Carmen's like, oh, there's something needs your attention. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I thought I was in shit for not cleaning up or leaving tools or something. Anyways, me being careless, turns out that wasn't the case at all. Actually, she said there's a critter behind the fridge and you need to deal with it. So look behind the fridge, and sure enough, there's a mouse in the mouse trap. It's probably the biggest mouse I've ever seen, like half the size, probably like a mid-sized squirrel at least, but figure it was probably pregnant. Anyways, got rid of that. That was super gross. And that's a wrap for the day. So what a way to end it. Anyways, I hope you have a fantastic evening. We'll see you tomorrow.